Hey guys, what's up? Chris here. You are listening to Exhale by IO. Sign up today to get royalty-free music just like this track for $199 a year. It's what we're using on our channel, so if you like the music, go check out artlist.io. Affiliate link in the description. And also, learn new creative skills. Explore thousands of online classes in design, photography, business, and more on Skillshare. Hey guys, what's up? It's me for the Futur live stream. Sorry we're running a little bit behind schedule today. It was a long night last night, but here we are. We're going to be talking about the first meeting. What do you need to do to prepare to have a killer first meeting? I've got a whole deck prepared for you, so stick around, take some notes, and then afterwards, hit me up on Facebook or on YouTube. We'll be monitoring your questions, and I'll answer anything about this specific topic. And if we have a little extra time, I'll answer anything else you guys want. First of all, just let me know, how's the audio? Can you hear me okay? Let my son Otto know that the audio is okay. Say that I'm coming in loud and clear before we move on. Is the music off, Aaron?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So is audio working, guys? Are we good? Whatever, I assume the audio is working. Let's get into it. Let's cut to the slide. First meeting. All right, it can feel like this. You have to be prepared. And for those of you guys that are a little less experienced, this is going to help you. Okay, so the first thing I have for you is this, is to always have a goal. What do you want to get from the meeting? And here are some things that you might be thinking about. Do you want to have another meeting, as in have a second meeting? Do you want a piece of new business? Do you want a job? Do you want a job offer? Do you want a referral? How about just to get feedback on your portfolio or feedback on how you did on another job? But the most important thing, if you're talking about a prospective new client, is you want to discover a problem. And sometimes when you're really listening and being attentive to what's going on, you can discover a problem that you can solve. Not all problems you can solve, and this is critical, okay? Now, if you want to know more about these kinds of things, I've got a book here. I've got 2 book references for you. The first one is 101 Things I Learned in Business School, written by Michael W. Prey. I hope that's how you say his name, with Matthew Frederick, okay? We'll include a link after the show so you can buy this book on our Amazon affiliate link. And in the book, Michael talks about what a good salesperson does. A good salesperson first seeks to understand the true nature of a customer's problem and only then offers a solution. So what you want to do is talk a customer out of making a wrong purchase to gain respect and build trust. When I was talking about discovery, sometimes the problems are not problems you can solve. And sometimes you have to recommend that they don't spend money unnecessarily on options that they were so gung-ho in doing. This is the way you build trust. Okay. The other thing that you want to do is you want to establish rapport. You want to appear to be attentive to the client's needs and wants. You want to be honest in your answers. You don't want to BS. You want to be able to say, I can do this, and that's out of my area of expertise, but I have some great referrals for you. You want to be responsive, okay? This is really important. So if a client is going to bring up an issue, you need to respond to that. You don't have to respond to it right away. Let your mind kind of figure out what the real solution might be, but you do need to address them. And lastly, you need to be curious. This is a very important and critical thing to have because you want to find out more about them and you want to talk less about you, okay? So how do you do that? What key skill do you need? You need to have empathy. You need to empathize with what the client's going through, what it's like to live in their shoes and to look at the world through their eyes. And more importantly, you also want to help the client to discover who their customers are, what their pain points and challenges are, and help to figure that out with them, okay? So a lot of what I do in the first meeting is I spend a very long time in the diagnostic phase. I ask lots of questions and I stay really engaged and I'm curious about the client's business and I want to find out as much as I can relevant to a business problem I'm trying to solve. Let's look at that. So when we have a client meeting, what we're doing is we're trying to get insight into their business, into their challenges, and into their customers' lives. This is akin to like panning for gold. I was looking for an image for strip mining, but this one works just as fine. So there's lots of information the client's going to share with you. They're going to do what we would refer to as a brain dump. They're going to try to throw a lot of things at you, and you're sifting through that. And in order to avoid getting overloaded with information that you don't know what to do with, I suggest you come in with a series of questions or a framework. I have one that's prepared for you right now that you can use, or you can adapt and modify it to the very specific business that you're in. So it doesn't matter if you're doing logo design, if you're doing branding, website design, UX, or maybe you're helping them out because you're an architect, you want to design a home for them. You should walk in with a set of questions that's going to work in order for you to get the information that you need from the client so that you can go out and do your job. That's really critical. And I like having a dialogue. Now, some of you guys will send out questionnaires, and I think that's fine. But my preference is to have a conversation with them to make it easy for them, because the last thing I want to do is to answer somebody else's questionnaire. Take the time, make the investment to learn about the client and engage with them. And this is how you can also show off a lot of your personality, your curiosity, your enthusiasm, your intellect, all that kind of stuff. All right. So what does insight look like? We're going to cut to the slide right now. Insight looks something like this. It's like filtering of a lot of bits of information, data, stories, testimonials, etc., until you find those nuggets. Okay? And this could be done through, as I mentioned, company data, target market research, brand history, and what you're trying to do is find distilled inspiration. What is it telling us about the people we are observing and the decisions they make? Does the data point to an underlying truth about the values of the people we are observing? And lastly, does the data contradict what we assume to be true? Now, if you like this kind of information, there's a great book here, and the book is called Creative Strategy and the Business of Design. I've mentioned this book many times before. It's written by Douglas Davis. These are the two books. If you want to sharpen up your business skills, I strongly encourage you to go pick them up. Okay, now let's get into it. When the client says to you, I need a new logo, a website, or I want to rebrand, how should you respond? How should you respond? Let's take a moment here and let's see what the internet comes up with. Otto, do we have anybody? Let's try to make this interactive, guys. I'm going to just check on my phone here to see what you guys are saying on YouTube or Facebook. How should you respond? I need a new logo, or I need a new website, or I need to rebrand. How do you guys respond to that? Any comments coming in, buddy? Not yet?
Not yet. Hold on.
Not yet? We're super late, so it's... Let's see what's going on. No comments? Oh, there's the live chat. All right. Here we go. I'll read them off. Okay, here we go. I see a bunch of comments from YouTube now. All right. Why do you need X? So Sean Campbell throws the question back at the client. Why do you need it? That's a good question to ask. Reggie says, tell me more. And somebody else is saying by asking why. Okay, you guys are obviously paying attention to the channel. Those are very good responses. And I'm going to give you the response that I prepared. And most of the time, this works really well. Okay, so here's what it looks like. I will say to the client, I think I can help, but first, tell me more about why. What business objective are you trying to solve? This redirects the focus into trying to surface a deeper motivation besides a prescriptive answer. A prescriptive answer is, I need X. I need a website. I need a new logo. I need a new house. But if you ask why and you're trying to find out what's driving this, it could be, I need a new house or a new building because our company is growing really quickly, so I want to spend some time there. I need a new website because our old site isn't ranked high on SEO. Our old site isn't converting the way we want, and there's a high bounce rate. So now I'm starting to get at what the underlying causes are of the symptoms, okay? So here's a framework that I use. I'll take that slide off. I can't see until we're ready, okay? A business objective. Okay, so we're trying to surface a business objective, and there are 3 here that I've outlined. And if you want more on this information, we have a first meeting worksheet that Jose with Keone has prepared, and you guys can have that. It's a free PDF, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so here are 3 columns to kind of direct the conversation. Is it an awareness thing? Do they need to expand on marketing? Do they need to let people know about what's going on? Do they need to educate people about how to use the product or service? 2, a business objective could be, we need to grow the company. We need to get X number of sales. We need to convert. We need more signups to our campaign. And lastly, and this is a broader category, we need to innovate in this area, or we find that what we're doing is really inefficient and we need to automate that. And software is really a great way to automate a lot of processes, okay? Does that make sense, you guys? So you're going to try to listen for one of these three things, and you can use this worksheet and start to fill them in as the client's talking. Now, you don't have to ask them specifically what's an awareness goal that you're trying to solve, what's a revenue goal you're trying to solve, or how do you want to innovate your company. When you turn it around and say, what's driving this? Tell me more about what's going on. You're listening, and you're going to put them in one of these three categories. This will help you to organize the information that you're getting. Okay, so next up, we're going to do a follow-up. The follow-up is this. Now that we're aware of what you're trying to achieve from a business point of view, you're going to ask them, what's getting in the way of this? What obstacles or challenges do we need to overcome? Because, like all good stories are about conflict. Boy wants girl, but the boy can't get the girl because their families are at war. Okay? Boy wants to get rich, but he can't because he's from the wrong side of town. So these are obstacles and challenges, and if the client already achieved these goals, they wouldn't be talking to you in the first place. So it's very important that you ask them, what's getting in the way of you achieving this? Okay, so go back to the diagram, and in the diagram, you can then write down whatever it is that's getting in the way of these goals. So if they say we need to build awareness, or our website isn't communicating the message, what's getting in the way? Well, what's getting in the way is we're using too much like technical language, or we don't really understand what our customers want. Well, I think we're spending too much time talking about ourselves and not enough about what's in it for the customer. So you're going to ask them now, based on the business objectives they're trying to accomplish, what's getting in the way. And now you have a pretty good idea what the goal is and what the problem is. And those are two very important things. Okay? Next up is the third set of questions that you can ask, which is how can what? I didn't write this down. How can we overcome these obstacles? What needs to happen? Okay? What needs to happen? So now you can ask them what the solutions are going to be. Okay? So the problem could be we need our website to function and convert higher. We want to lower the bounce rate. What's getting in the way? We don't have the technical expertise. We don't have the creativity, and the messaging is off point. Those are things getting in the way of that. So what's the solution? Well, naturally, the solution is to hire somebody who has expertise in building a website, who can figure out our messaging and translate this so that average people can understand that. So you need a writer, you need a designer, and you need a developer. Those are solutions to that particular problem. Okay? Sometimes they could be saying to you, I have this a problem in terms of marketing, and I want to build this big, robust site. And then after a while, if you learn a little bit more about who their customers are and how they come to find out about them, and you realize that very few people actually will spend time on the website, you are supposed to recommend to them, let's not spend a lot of money on the website. Let's build a really thin website because most of your customers aren't going to be there. Let's spend the money elsewhere where it's going to have a bigger impact. And you must do this against your own best interest if you're to build a relationship with a client. I need you guys to understand this, okay? Because so many of you guys go into a meeting and you're there to sell one of three things. You're probably going to sell them some kind of logo creative service, maybe some kind of web design stuff. But what you need to do is listen to the bigger problem and be attentive to that and try to figure out what the answer is going to be, despite it not being in your own best interest. This is how you build trust. This is what it means to be a consultant or advisor to a potential client. Okay, next up, what metric, and metrics are kind of a fancy way to say like data points. How will we measure the success of this initiative? This is really, really important. So you know the problem, you know the challenges, you know the solutions to that, but how are they going to measure this? So here are some examples from the Creative Strategy book. Okay? Time on site, response rate, click-through rate, also known as CTR, click-through rate, cost per thousand, CPM, conversion rate, open rate, engagement rate. Engagement rate could be likes, comments, shares, retweets, etc. And a data point could be, or a metric could be average order value of the customer, AOV. Okay? The average order value. How can we increase how much money a customer spends on our site? So if the average order value was $30 by making recommendations and suggestions, such as what happens on Amazon all the time. Oh, we think you'd like this. And then what happens is then the customer spends more money and they're increasing their AOV. And you can do that in a number of different ways. You can offer free shipping, or if you bundle or order something above a certain price point, customers will buy more. So there's lots of solutions to that. Next up is this, okay? So we have a goal and we have a metric. This is important for you to extract from the client during the first meeting. Now, I'm not talking about a casual, like you bumped into somebody at the coffee shop. I'm talking about there's a business meeting scheduled to see if there's good fit between the services you offer and what the client's needs are, okay? So here are some examples of a goal they're trying to accomplish and a metric. So they want the open rate on the email blast to go up from 5% to 10%. So you have to design a solution that's going to achieve those results, and you're going to be held accountable for that. And this is really important, okay? So we're not making empty promises. We're not going to go in and overpromise something that we cannot deliver on. And another goal could be search ranking. So they want to improve organic SEO. They want a front page result, a top 10, top 15 result. They want more qualified leads. Well, don't just leave it like that. Ask them, what's that going to look like? Well, they want 5 more qualified prospects per month of $100,000 or more, something like that. Okay? And we're almost at the end of this thing here. And so naturally, what you want to do is summarize everything that you discuss, the high level stuff, and you want to wrap it up. Okay? But before you do that, here's a question I don't want you to neglect. You have to remember when the client's talking to you, they have multiple options to consider. Most clients do not just talk to one vendor and take their word for it. They need context and they need to compare. So you may or may not be expensive relative to other people, and the only way they're going to find that out is if they ask other vendors to bid on the project. No matter how much they express to you, I like you, I think you're cool, and they're talking as if they're going to sign on the dotted line, you need to be aware that they're talking to other people. Okay? People are very polite in person, and they're not always going to be straight shooters and tell you, you know, I like you, but I'm concerned that your operation is too small, or your body of work isn't really where it needs to be. Okay? So you're going to ask them this question. If you were to work with us, what would keep you up at night? Is there anything you are concerned about? You would be surprised as to the kind of results you get by just asking this question. Well, now you're opening it up, and the client realizes you want to know what they're thinking without them volunteering that piece of information. So they might come back and say to you the things I've said. Maybe your team is too small, or we're concerned that you're too high and not experienced enough. And you have to think about what is a good response to that objection. Otherwise, you will walk away thinking that you will close the job, and then the clients will never call you back, okay? Because they're thinking about it, but they haven't spoken it. It's called surfacing an unspoken objection, okay? So here's what we're going to do. This is the summary, and these are just examples, okay, of things that you need to think about. So you want to clarify, you want to ask, and you want to tell them what the next steps are going to be. This is very critical. So first, clarify. We want to have a concise summary, and you're going to say something like, here's what I heard. You want to rebrand because the work looks dated. The standards guideline you need because the brand is not applied consistently, and there are too many vendors messing it up. The company has outgrown their roots, their history, their legacy. So we need a brand or a name that is bigger and reflects the vision of where we're heading. The value proposition or the messaging on our communication, pieces of communication are not clear. We need to simplify the website experience because it's too complicated, it's not responsive, and it's not doing what it needs to do. Okay? Now here's what you're going to ask. Okay? What do you need to see in the proposal? So we're going to outline it with them on the spot. I want to know the budget range. For these initiatives, what are you prepared to spend? And we've talked about this before. It's called scoping or price bracketing. I don't want to go away and make a proposal with a number that I'm just guessing in the dark. If the number sounds low, you should tell them, that number sounds low in my experience. I'm not saying it can't be done, but that's going to be a challenge for us, especially given how important this is to your company. I would think that you would want to spend a little bit more money. Have an open dialogue with your client and be very clear about how you feel. One of Blair Enz's rules is to say what you think. So if you're feeling the budget is too low, and even if you're feeling the budget is too high, you should say it. You can say to the client, believe it or not, I think you're putting more money into the website design than you need to. Maybe we can get really creative, do what you need, and move some of this money elsewhere to accomplish some of the other goals that you want to do. And this is how you build trust. Okay, back to the slide, Aaron. Great. You need to talk about the schedule. When are they expecting to see things? When are things delivered? And if there's any kind of cushion in the delivery schedule, oftentimes the clients need time to take the final materials and send it off to a printer, or they need to rehearse it for a big keynote presentation, or perhaps they need to do a technical AV check. They need the video ahead of time so they can run it through their systems and make sure everything is working perfectly. You need to talk to them about key milestones, when the first check-in point might be, when the third, etc. This might be getting too granular for this kind of conversation, but I just wanted to put that out there for you. You might want to determine, just by listening to what they're talking about, what kind of case studies that you have are relevant to the questions and the problems that they're talking about. So if they're a tech client, they may want to see a lot of tech case studies, or maybe they're concerned about your creativity. So then you're going to include some of the most creative projects you've ever worked on. So you're listening and asking questions to help you ascertain what you're supposed to put in the proposal, okay? And you might talk a little bit about process and see how important that is to them. And so then you can make alterations to your proposal as well. Testimonials, referrals, etc. you're going to include in that. And then the last thing you're going to do is talk about next steps. I'll send a summary email to you later today about everything we talked about. Is there anybody else I need to loop into this conversation? Oftentimes, if you're talking to the business owner, there's an assistant or there's an operating officer or somebody else, and this is a good sign that you're aware of how businesses work and you don't want it to be left in one person's email box, okay? And then what you need to do is to tell them, I'll follow up with you with a proposal on X date at this time. Does that work for you? When I say this time, meaning end of business day or first thing business morning, those are two good benchmarks to talk about in terms of time in which you're going to deliver. Okay? The last thing you're going to do is you're going to thank the client for the opportunity and time. And here's the key thing here. You want to be enthusiastic, but not needy or presumptive. What do I mean by that? I have lots of energy. I really would like to work with you, but I've got other clients. And that's how you have to kind of talk. You have to think like that. I'm not going to say like I have other clients, and the other thing you don't want to do is be presumptive. And by that, I mean assuming that you already closed the job. Nothing is done until you get a check in hand and it's cashed and cleared, okay? So just because the meeting is going really well doesn't mean this is your job. And don't assume that. Call up the clients and ask maybe the, the producer or even the client that you just spoke to, after speaking to you, are there any other doubts or fears that you might have of working with us? Is there anything else that I can address? Because I would love to work with you, okay? And the last thing I want to tell you guys is to follow up immediately. Within the same business day after the meeting, write your summary email and send it to them. Because lots of things are said. By summarizing in person, you're also letting them know you've been listening and you've highlighted things that need to be focused on. But when you put it in writing, everything becomes much more concrete. Okay, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to whoever's got questions. Otto, what are the people saying on the internet? Okay, here we go. Oh my God, there's a spider inside my cup. Otto, get in here. Look at this, you guys. There's a little spider inside my drink. He's right here. Get him out so that I can drink this. You see him? Keep your hand over it. All right, how do I get more work done when I have so many things to do? That's a great question, except for it's not on topic. Next question. How do you handle unresponsive clients? Okay, are we talking about the first meeting, you guys? If you've done your job in terms of talking through with them what's going on, you should not have an unresponsive client because the deadlines, the budgets have all been talked about. The reason why I suspect your client is unresponsive at this point in time is because you sent them a budget that is too high or too low. Believe it or not, both will get you a non-response from the client. Too low, they're concerned that you don't know what you're doing. Too high, they think you're crazy and you've not done a very good job of listening to your clients and what their needs are. Next question.
Otto is still working on the.
Oh, the spider
incident.
situation is still going
Yeah,
on?
spider
All right,
situation.
Aaron, you got a question for me?
It fell into the cup.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, pour it out and just fish it out. I need to drink my drink. I'm
I already
getting.
dumped it out.
He
It fell into the cup and died.
Yeah.
Well, dump him out and take the spider out. I don't care.
Oh.
I already
Come on,
dumped
guys.
out the thing.
Okay, whatever. Let's move on. Next question.
There are none.
There's no more questions?
Hold on, let me find some. Oh, here. How do you handle a client that sends way too many emails?
How do you handle a client who sends way too many emails? Well, I have to ask you, maybe we should just do this on a Zoom conference. Okay, why do you think the clients are sending you too many emails? And what is too many emails? What do you think that's all about? I suspect if the clients are sending you too many emails, it's because A, you're not being very responsive, okay? B, your process and the checkpoints aren't very visible to the client. There's no transparency. They're sitting around wondering what's going on with my project. Is anybody working on that? And in another episode, when I was talking to Melinda about using Trello and sharing that with the client, they get to see the tasks that are being done and who's working on it and what stage of completion it's at. The clients are calling you because they need information from you. So I have to tell you, most likely, you need to do a better job of communicating what's going on. What's the next question? Now,
I have a good one here, actually.
all right, fire away. Are you speaking into the mic?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Do you have any tips for notes? I mean, like when you're in a meeting, how do you take notes? Do you have any tips?
I use a pen and I use paper and pen, paper. No, I mean, I don't know. What do you mean? Like, how do you take notes?
Like what
Is that
kind of
from
notes?
Zach?
What do they look like? What do you write down? Do you write down exactly
Well,
what they say?
I'll go get my
or-
notebook in my backpack. I'll show you what my notes look like, you guys.
Okay, should we move
It's
on
pretty
to another
straightforward.
question?
I only
meantime?
write down what's important, okay? You know the chart that I shared with you guys in terms of the 3 columns? I'm listening for those things. I don't literally have 3 columns, but if you're new to this, you might have a worksheet, a pad right in front of you, and then you would put the answers in those columns. And you might have 2 or 3 sheets that you bring with you so that you can shuffle between a couple of different things. Now, no client interaction ever goes perfectly in terms of them asking you or answering questions in exactly the order in which you're asking them. Take, for example, whenever I'm interviewing a guest on our show, I'll ask them a question. But whatever they say, it's really up to them. And sometimes, as you can see on our show, they go all over the place. And I can't control that. So what I'm listening for is, are they answering the question? Have they answered it yet? So after 3 minutes of them speaking, and if I haven't heard the answer, I will say once again, I'm sorry, I was trying to listen for this answer and I haven't heard it. It might help if I ask the question a different way. Let me try again. So you ask it again. And sometimes people who are overly verbose, who use too many words, each time you ask them the same question over and over again, it'll get shorter and shorter and shorter until you get the answer that you need, okay? But you also have to be very good at listening and extracting what they say from what they mean. And this is where you can reflect back to the client and say, here's what I heard. And if you're doing your job really well, a reaction that you might get is, wow, yeah, you said that much better than I could say it. Great. That's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, so let me thumb through my notebook right now. My nose is a little runny today. I don't know why. Let's see what I can show you. Okay. I mean, you guys, you're not going to see that much. Here, I'll hold it up to the camera. I mean, these are, you can't see, it's totally blown out. There we go. Can you see that? I mean, how do you take notes? I just write down the key words. And the key words for me are breadcrumbs, mental breadcrumbs as to what I need to remember. So sometimes maybe a client is saying, we need to have 50% growth. The ROI is great. I just write down keywords and that's all, because I don't need to record the entire conversation. Now, note taking in some instances, the way that I'm talking about is not you transcribing the entire conversation. That's somebody else's job. That's like somebody who's recording the meeting, a treasurer, not a treasurer, a secretary. But for me, I'm just listening for key points. Oh, once I hear something, a problem I need to solve, then I'm going to dive in deep. I'm going to ask those questions that I prepared for you. Okay? Next question.
Otto, you got something?
Okay. How do we ask better questions if the client isn't able to accurately communicate their problems? You're going to have to give me an example, because have you ever asked the questions that I've outlined for you? And if you haven't, maybe it's the way you structure your question. how can a client not tell me what is the business objective they're trying to accomplish? And if they don't know that, maybe they shouldn't be running the business, or you're talking to the wrong person. Everybody should be thinking about maybe 2 or 3 things. I need to make more money. I need to get the word out. I need to make my customers happier. Those are very common objectives. So then you're going to ask them, well, what's getting in the way of your customers being happy or happier? And what's getting in the way of you getting the word out? What do you mean when you say get the word out? Okay? It's really not the client. It's you. Like they say, there are no bad students, just bad teachers. And if I have bad students, it means because I'm a bad teacher. Next question. How do you manage a client who tries to micromanage you? Is this a power struggle? Okay. I've said this to you guys before. I don't like design or artistic clients because they want to get their hands all in the work and they want to tell me what to do. And I don't like that personally. I like to work with business people. I like to work with entrepreneurs for this very reason. Okay. So I suspect people want to micromanage you is because maybe how you're positioned in the marketplace, that you are a one-person shop and they feel like they have to control the entire process. The thing I'm going to ask you is this. Have you done a very good job of documenting and sharing your process? Like, do you have a formal process? First, we ask questions. Second, we translate those answers into visuals, and then we break that down, and then we do diagrams, and then we do wireframes, then we do visual design, and then the final design, and then the website launches. Well, that's a very clear process, and then you can show examples of each within that structure, and then the clients will rest a little easier. Now, if clients are trying to manage you or micromanage you, or they're asking so many questions along the way, it's because they have no idea what you're doing. Whose fault is that? Is that the client's fault, or is that your fault? I suspect it's your fault. Okay, next up. Is it okay to record your meetings with your clients? I'm no attorney here. If you are recording the meetings and you plan to use it somewhere else, I would ask for permission. But we do record our calls because we need to check for our notes. And once we're done with it, we throw out the files. It's not necessary anymore, okay? But you can tell your clients, I would like your permission to record the call. I need to reference this. This will never air anywhere without your permission, etc., okay? And if you're thinking about recording the calls because you want to call out your client for saying X, Y, and Z, that's a dumb idea. If you're already entering into the relationship, planning on how to use these secret recordings against your client, you don't know what you're doing. Okay, you're already setting yourself up for failure, and you're putting yourself in this adversarial mindset, and you're better off doing something totally different. Next question.
I'm running out.
You're running out? There's no more questions? How about on Facebook? I think there's this question in here that somebody asked about B2B. So let me see here. Aaron, you can still stay on me, but I'm going to look at my slides, all right?
All right.
All right. Are there any other questions that you guys can see?
I see the B2B one if you want me to read it.
Yeah, read the B2B one to me.
Okay, it's from Juan Pablo Hinosa. And he says, I wanted to ask you about your core process regarding B2B. You often give examples of B2C. How does the strategy change in B2B?
Okay. I'm not sure the differentiation that you're making between B2B and B2C. We're talking about business to business versus business to customer. I'm not always doing B2C. Oftentimes I'm actually going from one industry to the other industry. But I treat the industry like a person. I mean, they have needs too. They have challenges as well. So I'm not quite sure why we need to delineate that from one to the other, okay? I do understand they have different needs, but they're still needs. And if you use a framework like the one that we teach in core, you should be able to do the same. You're going to have to follow up with another question, and you're going to have to make it very specific for me to be able to answer that question, okay? What else? What else? Anything else? Okay, here we go. How do you decline a potential client's low budget? Okay. I have a very short answer for that. You would say no. I'm not sure how else you can say that. So you can say it very politely without judgment to say that is not within the price range that I can work in, and I think I need to help you find somebody else who can do it. At that price point, you probably need to go on Fiverr or 99 Designs and try your luck there. It's not something I can work with. Okay, next question. How do you find bigger clients than you're currently working with? Hey guys, before we get into these kind of questions, do you guys want to ask questions relative to the deck I just showed you about the first meeting? We're talking about the first meeting, you guys. All right? So try to focus in on the first meeting. I know you guys have a lot of pent-up questions about business, about how to grow, sales and marketing, but we're just talking about how to have a successful first meeting. What do you need to do to prepare for that? So if you have a situation, a scenario that you've been in where you've said something and the client said something else and you're confused by it, ask me a question that's like that. Give me the context that I need to be able to answer that question. Okay? Now, it is 1:10. I'm getting hungry, and you may or may not be hearing my stomach rumbling. I'm going to get hangry in a little bit here. So let's come in with the good questions. Let's see what happens. No?
I'm not sure if I should jump in or
Jump
if I
in.
was sending you
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I saw a good one here. Give me a second. Okay, so in the first meeting, you obviously it's like part pitch and part capabilities. How do you balance that? Like how much should you be pitching?
That's a great question. It's neither of those things. In the first meeting, I'm not pitching, and it's not about my capabilities either. It's about discovering. It's about spending the time to learn the client's business, how they see their business goals, their challenges, and what they think are good solutions for those problems. I'm not trying to solve anything. I'm just listening. This is critical. I'm not pitching. I'm not trying to sell anything. That's the wrong attitude to take. I'm only going to go away after the first meeting, so informed, so I know what to put in a proposal. Okay? I might make some recommendations, but I'm not pitching anything. If you're going into these meetings thinking you got to sell, pitch, and all these kind of things, it's not the right way to do it for the first meeting. Okay? Next question.
Yeah, I got a good one.
Hey, put the mic up to your face, dude.
Okay.
Bring the mic up. I don't think people are going to be able to hear you.
Okay, so Tech in 5 is asking the question, any chance you'll cover the difference between clients who were referred to you versus those who are shopping around and how you may change your approach in the meeting?
I would treat the clients, all clients, seriously and respectfully, regardless if they come to me from a referral or if they're coming in cold. You need to spend the time to learn about their business. Okay, I'm not quite sure. Maybe you've come across something. One mistake that you can make is if a client came as a referral, you might come in a little bit cockier. You might be a little bit more self-assured, and you don't ask the questions you're supposed to, thinking you have this one in the bag. And that's probably the best way to lose a job. Okay, treat everybody with respect, even if it's not a good fit for you. And the last thing you want to do is for them to walk away thinking this person isn't interested in my business. Is that okay?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, here we go. Here's another question here. Got to look in here. Your quote for the project, is it okay to ask for their budget before you send a number of your own? Who asked that question? What's their name?
I don't know. They're really far out.
Okay. Well, whoever asked this question, is it okay to ask their budget before you send a number of your own? Oh, were you not paying attention to the deck? Cut to the slide, Aaron. Were you not paying attention to this deck? You're supposed to ask in the first meeting what the budget range is. Now, so many of you guys go away and make a proposal with a budget you have no idea if the client can afford it. Is that what they're asking? You guys like to build proposals? You want to spend all your time writing documents? You should already know if you're in the ballpark or not. You can ask them in orders of magnitude, or in rough orders of magnitude. Are we talking about a $10,000 gig, $100,000, or $1 million gig? What are we talking about? I need to know where we're at, because I'm a creative person. I can solve problems with a variety of budgets. I can do that, but I need to know how big the sandbox is that we're playing in. Next question.
Right there.
Okay. How often do you check in on a client who's working on getting a budget nailed down? However you think the client's comfortable with. I would not check in with them on a daily basis, but if the deadline, the start date is a week away, it might be all right to say 2 or 3 days out and then 2 days before to say, the deadline is approaching. We're supposed to get started on the project. We haven't heard back from you. Do you need more time? Is there flexibility on the deadline? Because we're concerned now. And I also am trying to build a team in anticipation of you awarding this job to us. So we just need to know. If we're not a good fit, please let us know. I'll release the team. Otherwise, we need to hear from you soon. Sincerely, Chris. Next.
Okay.
I don't see anything. Okay. What is a good tone and volume of your voice in the first meeting when the client is too hard to handle? Too hot to hold? Too hard to handle? Okay. Tone. What? I don't know what you mean when you say too hard to handle. I really don't. And I've had meetings before when a client says, hey, prove to me why you should be here. I thank them. I say, thank you for being here. I don't work that way. You probably need to work with somebody else. And I just politely walk out. That's totally okay. A client had asked me before, do you pitch on these kind of first meeting things? I said, no, I do not pitch. They're great. Let's have a meeting. I had a meeting. They're like, are you ready to pitch to us? I said, I thought I made it very clear. I'm not here to pitch. I have a proposal and a capabilities deck. I'm happy to walk you through that. And they're like, no, that's not what we look for. I said, thank you very much. Appreciate the time. And I just leave. Okay? If a client is abusive, if they're bullying you, that's a clear sign. You need to get the heck out of the room. They're not going to be a good relationship regardless, okay? I don't care how much money they pay you. You have to be able to have some of your own dignity and walk away. But be polite about it. That's all. Okay. What's next?
Otto, do you have one? Or
1 second.
First meeting, you guys. Do you guys have first meetings? That's
I
what
have a
this
couple of
happens
good
lot.
ones here.
Huh?
If Otto doesn't have one.
Okay.
So this one's from Pixel and Bracket.
Pixel and bracket. I
And
know
I'm
this.
sure you've answered this before, but it's when a client asks you your rates, how do you turn that around on them and ask their budget?
Okay. That's a really good question. That's a relevant question. Pixel and bracket. I don't know where you're calling in from or writing. That's a really good question. When a client asks me my rates, I say my rates are actually really high, but I don't work that way. I work within a project scope. So let's try to understand what you're trying to get done. I don't work on an hourly rate, okay? But if you must know it's $10,000 an hour, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. You can say whatever you want, okay? You're allowed to control how you work and what you charge for the work that you do, just as like the client is allowed to control or decide if they want to work with that kind of person or not. Just because they ask doesn't mean you have to say if that's not how you work. However, if they do ask that question and you do work hourly, you should have no qualms about telling them, this is my rate. I'm $350 an hour. I'm $600 an hour. I'm $45 or $22 an hour. You should just be able to say it. Next question.
Okay, there was another good one from Matthias Deckers.
Hey, Aaron, before you ask that question, can you cut to this slide?
Sure.
I just want to do a quick announcement here. Okay. Oops. Here it goes. You guys, I just want to let you guys know that the pro group is now at 166 people. Every day we're getting a little bit bigger. Those of you guys that are looking to grow your business and your practice and you feel like it's a lonely endeavor to be a solopreneur, it is true. It is very difficult because most businesses do not share information with you in terms of what they're bidding, what their client objections are. And what makes this community so amazing is that first, we do a call once a week and we're able to talk about very specific issues, the ones that you're raising today. I'm able to share decks, contracts, approaches, and things like that that I don't feel that comfortable sharing in an open forum like this one. So I highly encourage you guys. I'll see you on the other side. That's my plug for the pro group. Okay, it's $75 a month. We can cut back to me now. Okay, so Aaron, ask that question.
Okay. Matthias Deckers is asking, how do you convince a client to do strategy before as the first step so that you can figure out what they actually need?
Yeah. So
Maybe
Matthias,
because the problem is bigger than they think. Like, I think he uses the word convince, and I know you hate that word.
I hate
but
the word
think he
convince, but
means-
that's okay.
You know what he means, right? Like,
Yeah, I know what
how
he
do you-
means. You're trying to do what you think is the best thing for your client, and they just want you to get going. And sometimes, no matter how charismatic you are, how skilled you are at talking to the client, it is quite difficult to convince them to do something that they don't want to do. So you're going to have to just get really creative. So in an instance, this is a real real situation that's happening to us right now. The clients don't want to do all the strategy stuff. So all I do is bake in the cost of doing strategy, and we try to just figure it out on our own. It's a much more difficult process, so I actually even charge more if we're going to do strategy by ourselves, meaning we got to do some research and poke around and make a lot of guesses at it. But I have to bend to what the client wants, okay? If you can establish trust, if you can show them that you're an expert at what it is that you do, and if they love the results that you're able to get for your other clients, that's usually a good leverage point to then say, the way that I got there is I do this. Is that something you would be willing to participate in? I know your time is valuable and you don't want to do it, but I got to tell you, when we do this, we have fewer revisions, things move a lot faster, and my clients spend less money. How would you like to proceed? That's my best argument to that. Okay, next question. Where do the most successful first meetings take place? Skype or conference rooms or coffee? All right, let me rule out one of these things. I don't think the best first meetings happen over coffee for me, because there's distractions, there's noise issues, and people are more prone to talk about very personal things and just get to know you. So I can't talk about business. For me, the ideal scenario where the first meeting takes place is in our office, in a room full of whiteboards, when I have all my supplies, and acoustically the room is quiet so we can focus and people feel comfortable to talk. We have a big open table and all the supplies that we need. Now, there are digital versions of that. You can do this via Skype with some kind of whiteboarding technology. I don't use those per se, but that's usually how I do my best meetings, okay? And if you can't get the clients to come to you, you go to them. You can buy those giant, oversized, what are they called, flip charts that are made by Post-it. They're kind of pricey, but they work, and you paste them on the wall, and then you use the flip chart markers, and then you write on those things, okay? The act of writing down ideas shows that you're paying attention, you're summarizing, and you're making things that are abstract concrete. That's why I like to write on those whiteboards. Next question, and I think we're going to do a few more, and we're going to wrap up. We're going to wrap up in the next 6 minutes here, okay? What are some red flags of a potential bad client? There's a whole episode that we've done on red flags of a potential bad client. I think you need to watch that video. I will cover some of them right now, but you guys watch the other videos. Just search bad client and you'll find it. Bad clients, clients that want you to prove yourself to them. They walk in assuming that you have to pitch and sell them. I don't like working that way. Clients who want to control the entire process, like they hear you, but they're like, well, we want you to work this way. Those are things you need to look out for. People who don't value creativity at all. People who don't value their time. What do I mean by that? If a client doesn't see value in their own time, for example, that the drive across town to go to Costco, buy one item and wait in line for 30 minutes and then drive back so they can save $5, that's not a good client for me. They don't value their time, and their time is the most valuable thing that they have. What value are they going to place on my time? Like very little, okay? So those are good red flags to look out for. Next.
I have a good one here.
You do? Okay.
Do you have one there? Or?
No, go ahead. You fire first and then Otto.
Okay. This one's from, I think it's an Indian name, I'm not sure. Puneet Virma. And she's saying, how do you not sound like a used... Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, I don't think I had my mic on. Sorry. I'm going to read again. Okay, so Puneet Virma is asking, how do you not sound like a used car salesman while talking to the client? I sometimes have like an out-of-body experience where I'm psychoanalyzing every word I say. How can I remedy that?
Well, the way you sound not like a used car salesman is not to sound like a used car salesman. I think you're in there, you're trying to sell things, okay? Now, I'm not going to say this about any one person, but there are a lot of people who try and sell me stuff and talk to me, and they're super pushy. I delete them right away. I block them. They're calling me on my voicemail. They're leaving me messages on LinkedIn. You need a developer. You need a social marketing team. It's like, no. You've spent zero time learning about me and my needs. I don't even want to give you the time of day, okay? So if we go back, I'm going to bring up the slide here. Let's see where it is. Okay. Here we go. Okay, go to the slide.
Go to the slide.
Okay, what I'm trying to do is build rapport to make or create a sense that we see the world and we're connected in the same way. We see the world in the same way. I'm going to be attentive to their needs. I'm going to be direct and honest. I'm going to be responsive. And I'm going to show lots of curiosity because I wholeheartedly empathize with what they're trying to do. You guys remember this? This is what I'm trying to do. Does this sound like a salesman to you? Somebody who is trying to connect with you to understand what your needs are, to be clear and to be honest, to be responsive and curious about your business? No, a salesman is just out there to push something that they have on you all the time. It doesn't matter if you need it or not because they need to hit a quota. And if you act like that, well, that's the response you're going to get. Okay, Otto, your question. Okay. What if your client is reluctant to share their budget? How do you properly figure out their budget? Okay, this is a great question, something we've talked about before, but let me try to say it in a different way. If you and I are talking and I say, what budget, Aaron, are you cutting back to me?
Sorry, yeah.
All right. Okay. If I'm talking to you and I'm trying to figure out your budget, it's a game we play. And I find that the less experienced my client is, the less likely they are to tell me what their budget is, because they think I'm going to come under that and they're going to be able to win that conversation. The other reason why I say that they're less experienced is because, well, they've never done this before. They have no idea what to spend. They have no idea what to earmark, okay? So this is my job as the expert to help come into the situation and explain to them there are a lot of different options and these are the price points. Now, assuming that I am an expert, I should have many references, previous jobs that I've done where I know what it's going to cost to produce. So here's where the typical dialogue goes. I'm going to play both roles for you here, okay? What do you have to spend for this initiative? Oh, I don't know. You tell me. You're the expert. Okay. Well, in the past, we've done jobs just like this in the range of $50,000 to $200,000. Where are you within that range? They're like, whoa, okay. That's a lot of money. I say, okay, well, what are you prepared to spend? I don't know. Say, are you comfortable at the $150,000 mark? Well, I think I can spend that, but if it gets to 200, that's going to be tight for me. I say, okay, so if we come in anywhere, say like $180,000, are you going to be okay with that? And then you have to just listen. And if they're hesitant and if their little micro expressions tell you that they're not that comfortable, but they're maybe slightly embarrassed to tell you they don't have that much money, then you need to be able to hear that, to see it, and to respond to it. That's what I mean to be responsive. What I would then say is this. I feel a little hesitation from you right now that maybe we're going out of your comfort zone. Let's bring you back into your comfort zone. What are you prepared to spend? 160? Great. We can work with that. Now, I can do this job for around 160, but you have to help me. You have to help me in controlling how many revisions we have to make, and that we need to make sure this doesn't have scope creep, that we don't go out of scope, okay? And I will work really hard to keep it in there, but I need your cooperation in order to do so. Okay. Oh, hey, I just want to say thank you to Skyworks Drones for sending us a little money. How much money did they send us? $1. I appreciate that. Yeah. I have a little gift for anybody that sends us a lot of money, but we'll get into that later. Okay, we have a few more minutes, guys. I just want to let you guys know something, okay? You realize I have a whole company to run, and I've been spending a lot of time trying to write materials for you, to produce shows, to bring on guests, and I do appreciate that. The only way we're able to do this is because people like you buy our products or donate money to this organization, because we're trying to build a movement here about changing the way education is done, all right? I know a lot of you guys have gotten value, and I would love to see you succeed, and I do this purely for the desire to see you succeed, but we can't do this for free, okay? So if anybody there is feeling generous, throw some money, and I do appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to take one more question. Give me your best question, you guys, and then I'm out of here.
I have a pretty good one. If
Okay,
Otto doesn't have one.
Fire away.
So it's from Riyadh Shaban.
Okay.
And he's asking, like, you were talking about building rapport. Is there value in getting to know the client personally, or should you keep things business?
Okay, that's a great question. Should you spend time getting to know the client on a personal level? I think when I'm talking business, I like to focus just on the business, okay? Because a lot of the other stuff isn't really genuine. If you really are genuinely interested in a person, go ahead and ask them. Spend time finding out about their daughter's birthday or what their favorite hobby or interest is. But a lot of people see right through that as a guise to getting to the real thing. And I don't want to spend 80% of the conversation talking about personal things. I'd like to help the person succeed in their business. And in helping them succeed in their business, that might give them more time to spend with their family, or to go on that trip that they've been meaning to go on, or to expand their business, or just to alleviate some of the financial stress and pressure they feel. So that's important too. And I want you to think about that. I want to help them solve a business goal because that's what I'm primed to do. In terms of their personal stuff, hey, let's break bread at some other time, but this is a business meeting. A lot of you guys go into it and you're a little tepid or timid about whether or not you should talk about business. So the conversation meanders and it winds up about this and that. In the last 10 minutes, you're like, hey, will you hire me? And it seems like it came out of nowhere. We're having this great rapport. And, you know, to be honest, if you're sitting there thinking about, I need a new piece of business, you're not going to make for great conversation anyways, because no matter where the conversation goes, half of your mind or more of it, more than half, is going to be thinking about, I need to ask this question before I get out of here. It's kind of like all those classic romantic comedies that you guys have seen, where the guy or the girl is in love with their best friend, and their best friend is looking around for another, for a girlfriend or something like that, and she just won't say it, and you're thinking, God, will you just tell him how you feel?
Yeah, I'll look at this.
All right. Hey, Patrick, thank you very much. Appreciate your donation, man.
I got another really good one here.
You got another? Okay, you're killing me. And Otto killed my juice. What am I going to do here? All right,
you want
next
something
question.
To drink? I'll get you a drink.
Yeah, somebody give me a drink. There are other alternatives here.
All right, I'll get you
no, ask me the question first.
Okay, so first of all, someone sent us a nice super chat. Patrick, John, Nick.
Yeah, I
keep
just
up
said
the
hi to
great
Patrick.
Work. Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother.
I love seeing these. Like.
Yeah, me
my
too,
life
Aaron.
means something.
And let me show you this. I'm going to go grab this. Yeah, I hope I'm holding this up right. You guys see this thing? Maybe you can't
Move
hear
back
me.
a little bit.
Okay, you guys see it? There it is. Okay, this is a one-color test print that our silk screeners did for the snapshot poster, and I love these. They just sent it over, and they're printed on this really beautiful paper. They're hand pulled, and I was thinking for people who donate like $50 or more, I'm going to handwrite you a note on these and send them out to you. Okay, so these are going to be going out to some people.
Hey, the guy that someone said, now you got the $15, you can go get some lunch.
Yeah, that's good, man. No, actually, you guys need to understand something. It costs a lot of money for us to produce these shows. I spend 100% of the money that we make in investing in the show. Okay, that's how we're able to afford a full-time graphic designer, Aaron who's running the machines, Otto who's helping me out as an intern, and also a full-time editor. This is how we can get the content out to you. If you notice, if you look at our show just 3 years ago, what did the production look like? We're hanging blankets in the back, like bed sheets, on PVC piping, and we had 1 or 2 cameras and of different manufacturers. So when we cut from one camera to the other, it looked different. Okay, so we started investing in the cameras. Now we have 4 Canon C100. So every dollar that comes in, we just put it right back into production, because our goal isn't necessarily to make money on this business. Our goal is to grow the channel and help the community. We live in a very challenging time, especially if you're older, if you live in a different country and you want to pursue a creative life. The challenges are here because the internet, the software, and how connected we are as a world is making it much more difficult for the designer, the creative person, to survive in the 21st century. And I don't want to just talk about survival. I want to talk about thriving in the 21st century. And so we need to learn new skills that you aren't going to learn in school. And we hear this all the time. And nothing makes my day more than to hear from you guys saying how I've changed your life, how you were able to go from a certain dollar rate to this dollar rate, or you just closed your first $30,000 project, or whatever it is. Skywards, thanks very much. Skywards just threw another $20 at us. Thank you, appreciate it. Appreciate you. So I guess
that was the good question I wanted to ask you.
This drink's on you. Thanks very much, man.
Can I ask a question now, or are you still talking?
Go ahead, dude. I'm not talking.
Okay, so basically, if you're bidding, I'm just going to read it because he wrote it really well. So if you're bidding a job in a specific industry and you found out you're going up against another company and they're offering the same thing as you are, how can you differentiate yourself and stand out to the client? Okay.
You're always going to be bidding against other people who have different skill sets, a different size team, different levels of experience. I hate to say this like this, but there's a whole kit that we've prepared. It's called Selling Strategy. We came up with this thing called the Objection Matrix, which helps you to understand, most likely, there's a smaller competitor in the bid mix, and there's a bigger competitor in the bid mix than you. So saying that you're bigger and better helps you defeat and overcome the smaller competitor, but not the bigger one, because you're never going to be the biggest, okay? And most likely there is some little kind of upstart, somebody working in their garage who's just getting started, who just graduated from school, who's going to be in the bid mix. And they're going to come in a lot lower price than you. How do you overcome all these things? So my objection matrix helps you understand where you're at and how to respond to each one of these objections. And so what you have to do is you have to be more nimble than the big company and to give more personalized attention as if you're a solopreneur, but you're more experienced and trustworthy than the little guy who's only started their business a year or two ago. So you have to learn how to navigate those waters. The whole selling strategy kit is designed to do this. I think of all the things that we offer and sell, the number one most valuable thing that we offer is the core kit. And the number two thing, and this is not me saying it, this is also Ben Burns saying it, is the selling strategy part. Now that you've learned how to facilitate, now that you know how to do strategy, you got to go out and sell it. You got to close it. It's what I've done. There's a whole, what do we call it? We call it an objection script. There are like 10 or 15 things that you're going to hear from a client objecting to you, who you are or your service or whatever, like you're too expensive, you don't have enough experience, and we write the whole script for you so that you know how to respond to these things. Okay, what else?
So Chris, this one, a lot of people have asked this question, but I feel like it's a little beneath you because you're kind of, you don't deal with
Fire
this
away,
kind of
dude,
thing.
and then there's a funny question coming in here.
Huh?
Fire away, and then Otto's got a funny question. Go ahead.
Okay. They want to know, how do you do business with like family and friends?
I don't do business with family and friends. It's terrible to do business with family and friends because the lines are blurry. It's very difficult to do this, okay? I try and stay away from it. And the few times that I've put my toe in that water, that pool, if you will, it's been very tricky. And I like my family. I like my friends. And when I do business, it's just business, okay? It's sometimes the way that I come across is very business-like and it turns off family members. And for that reason, there aren't, besides my son working for me right now, there are no family members that work here or distant relatives. Okay, so somebody's asking a funny question, I think. Someone would like to know, how much do they have to pay to see you without your glasses? Well, you make an offer and you will see me without my glasses.
I'd say $200 would do it.
$200 will do it?
201.
201. Well, we'll see. What's the next question? Any other funny comments?
Yeah, can we see the poster again?
Yeah, you want to see the poster? Absolutely. It's really like thick paper, you guys. It's a heavyweight. I don't know what the exact paper is, but Ben Burns is working with a silkscreen printer, and they're awesome. Let me walk it back so you guys get a sense of how big it is. There. It's just one color. It's a blue ink on white paper, and it's using one of my favorite typefaces. It's DIN. I'm pretty sure it's DIN Mittelschrift. Okay. And I'll write you a little note. I'll write you something nice on the bottom. Okay. Someone would like to know if they can find these slides online somewhere. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we'll share these slides. If we do, it'll be in a link in the show description, or it'll be a resource on the Futur's website, okay? We're starting to build out more resources for you guys. Like I said, if you want the first meeting PDF, I will include that. That looks something like this, but it's a little bit different because it was designed by Jose and built off of Keone Chung's hard work. Next question.
I got a good one here.
Is this a really good one? Is this a funny one?
Good.
All right, let's go.
So Chris, how can you deal?
Don't worry about the name. Just go for it.
I want to read the names. Enigma. No, that's not it. But you should go with-
$35 from Patrick.
Another $35 from Patrick?
Yes.
Wow, thanks, Patrick. That makes it
What's the
50.
poster?
That's $50. Patrick just gave us $50, right? 15 and 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick, I'm sending you a poster. Let me know in the comments below what you want me to write on it, and I will do that. Or if you just want me to sign it or do nothing.
Wait, your glasses. People want to see the glasses.
Nope, I'm not taking off my glasses. Don't give the
We
people
haven't
what they
seen
want.
$200 yet.
Aaron,
Forget it.
fire away.
Okay. Chris, how do you deal with a client that thinks he knows more than you about the project or job?
Okay, how do I deal with a client who knows more than me? I'm not sure. I run into that a lot. They hire you most of the times because they're like, wow, we love your work. Your creativity is incredible. If a client thinks they know more than you, that's a bad client. That's a red flag, okay? Steve Jobs was famous for saying this, and Guy Kawasaki would talk about this in his lectures, that one of the things he learned from Steve Jobs is A players hire A players. B players hire C players. So Are you working with a B player? B players have a sensitive ego, so they think they need to hire somebody that's much lower than them so they can tell them what to do. So the net result is a lower quality product. So Guy Kawasaki said he wants to modify this, saying A players hire A plus players. Hire people smarter than you. Hire people more talented than you. So one of those two things is true. Either you're not that talented, so work on your skill level, or your clients are just really insecure and want to control the entire process. And for that, I don't want to work with those kinds of people. Next question.
I got you.
We have to wrap this up, you guys. I'm tired. Okay. Unless somebody wants me to yell at them. As a new design agency, which future product course should I invest in? That is a great question. Thanks for asking that. I cannot tell you what to invest in. You need to DM me on Twitter or on Facebook and tell me more about your business. I'm not here to sell you stuff that you don't need, so I have to find out a little bit more. Now, if you're a new company and you need to look at some forms and proposals, and because you have something coming up right away, I would recommend that you just buy AIB, which is Agency in a Box. It's $199. The time that you'll save trying to figure that stuff out is well worth the investment there. Now, if you're stuck, if you want to build better websites, if you want to learn how to start to facilitate and to engage the clients on a bigger conversation than telling them telling you what to do in terms of colors and fonts, then Core is a great product. Now, if you've figured out that the thing that you need help with is closing new business, that you have leads, but for some reason your proposals keep getting rejected, then I would recommend Selling Strategy, okay? And use the objection matrix there. Those are the tools that I think are going to be helpful to you. If you're in this space and you want to increase awareness, a product that we've worked on is a course called Sales and Marketing. Talks about it very in depth, and that's probably a good place for you to go to. If you want to tune up your skills, or you never went to a design school or had a professor like Nils Lindstrom, if you want to learn lettering specifically, that course is pretty good. I think that's the entire breakdown.
I have a question about our products. You
Okay.
just reminded me.
Okay, go ahead.
What's the difference between the pitch kit and selling strategy?
The pitch kit and the selling strategy are completely different products serving very different needs. If you're in the motion design space, as in you're making commercials and music videos, the pitch kit is going to help you figure out how to write treatments and proposals to close new business, but it's very specific to the motion design industry. Some of the concepts overlap, but it's really about motion design. Selling strategy is about closing new business, and you're trying to solve a business problem, okay? And you're writing proposals to answer that. It's not going to teach you creatively what you need to put in there. It's very business oriented. All right, let's do one last one. I'm tired. Give me a funny one or something like that. They want to hear a graphic designer joke. Let me tell you something. Does this face look like it jokes around? Next question.
One thing I'd like to say to the audience is, like, I mean, some of these questions are just, you got to work on the writing a little bit, because I don't even know what.
Aaron, look, Aaron will not read your question. Otto will not post your question. If you do not know how to phrase a freaking question, you guys, go take an English course or something. And I mean that in all sincerity. I really do. If English is your native language, go take an English class. And if you live somewhere else, learn to speak English and learn to write, because it's an international language. And if you want to get bigger jobs, you can't sound like a regional company. You need to sound like a global international company, okay? So work on your English. And if you can't do that, hire somebody who can and work with them. That's totally okay too. But you'll forever be, you'll always need them, and that'll be your crutch. So work on that.
I got a funny one here.
All right, we're going to end on a funny one, and then I'm out of here.
Okay, if you had a billboard, what would it say?
I don't believe in billboards. That's traditional advertising. I wouldn't have a billboard. All right, that's it for us, you guys. I appreciate you coming on the show and for being patient. I know we were late. Aaron, we're going to get this graphic ready, and you got to get the audio back up for my deck, okay? All right, we're going to end the show, guys. Thanks very much. I think on the next call, I'm going to have Zoom up so that I can talk to you face-to-face via video. I enjoyed that last time we were able to do that. All right, you ready?
Yeah,
Aaron, go ahead. Go to my slide. Thanks, guys. I'm signing off now. See you guys next time.
Where's the music?
Give me 1 second.